Hi, sleepy souls. Lock your doors, turn off the lights, and get comfortable. Before we start, drop a comment and let me know which part of the world you're listening from. I love seeing how far these stories travel. Close your eyes and let's dive into the first story.
This story happened about 2 years ago when I was driving for one of the big delivery apps to make some extra cash during my final year of uni. I usually stuck to the suburbs, but on a rainy Tuesday night around 11 p.m., a high paying order popped up. The payout was $30 for a 3-mile trip. In the delivery world, that's a unicorn, the kind of tip you don't turn down. The pickup was just a large pepperoni pizza and some wings from a local 24-hour joint. The delivery address was a bit further out than I liked, tucked away in an older part of town where the oak trees are so big they arch over the road like a tunnel. As I pulled onto the street, I noticed how poorly lit it was. Most of the houses were set far back from the road, hidden behind overgrown hedges. My GPS chimed. "You have arrived." The house was a 2-story Victorian. It looked like it hadn't been painted since the 90s, peeling white wood and a wraparound porch that looked like it was sagging into the earth. There were no lights on in the house. No porch light, no flickering TV glow, nothing. I checked the app. The instructions just said, "Hand to me." I grabbed the pizza bag and my heavy-duty flashlight. As I stepped out of the car, the air felt heavy and cold. I walked up the cracked driveway, my boots crunching on the gravel. I was about halfway to the front porch when the front door creaked open. A man stepped out. He was tall, maybe mid-40s, wearing a great tracksuit that looked a size too small. He didn't look like someone who had just ordered a pizza. He looked agitated. He was wiping his hands on a towel nervously. "Oh, hey," he said, his voice a bit too loud for the quiet street. "You're early." "Just trying to keep it hot for you," I said, putting on my professional customer service voice. "That'll be—" "Actually," he interrupted, stepping off the porch and walking toward me, "I think you've got the wrong house. This is 142. I think you're looking for 144 next door." I looked down at my phone. The blue dot was hovering exactly where I was standing. "The app says 142, sir. Is there a mistake?" He reached out and grabbed the pizza box before I could even hand it to him. Yeah, big mistake. But tell you what, I'm starving anyway. I'll just take it off your hands and pay you the difference in cash. Save you the trip next door." It was a weird offer, but it happens sometimes. People put in the wrong address or decide they want the food anyway. He pulled a crumpled $20 bill out of his pocket and shoved it at me. "Keep the change," he said, his eyes darting back toward the house. "You should probably get going before the rain picks up." I took the money, feeling a bit confused. As I turned to head back to my car, I caught something out of my corner of my eye. The house was dark, but on the second floor, a light suddenly flickered on. It was a bedroom window directly above the porch. I looked up instinctively. My heart nearly stopped. There was a woman standing there, at the glass. Her hair was disheveled and her face was pale, almost ghostly in the dim light. She wasn't just standing there. She was frantically pounding her fists against the window pane, but she was doing it silently, as if she was terrified of making a sound. Her eyes were wide and filled with a level of terror I've never seen in real life. She locked eyes with me and started mouthing words over and over. "Help me. Please help me." I froze. My hand went to the door handle of my car. I looked back at the window. The woman was gone. The light was still on, but the room was empty. The man started walking toward my car. Not a run, but a fast, purposeful stride. He dropped the pizza box in the gravel. I finally got the car started, slammed it into reverse, and floored it. I didn't even look behind me until I was 3 blocks away and under a bright streetlight. I called 911 immediately. I told the operator everything. The address, the man, the woman at the window. I stayed on the phone until I saw the blue and red lights of 3 squad cars heading toward that dark street. I waited in a parking lot about a mile away. 20 minutes later, I got a call from an unknown number. It was the police. "Son," the officer said, his voice sounding weary, "you did the right thing calling us." He told me that when they arrived, the man tried to flee out the back door. They caught him in the woods behind the property. When they searched the house, they found the woman. She had been reported missing from a neighboring county 2 weeks prior. She had been kept in that upstairs room the entire time. The man wasn't the homeowner. He was a squatter who had found an abandoned property and was using it to hide his victim. If I hadn't looked up at that window, if I'd just taken the money and driven away, she might never have been found. I quit delivery that night. Now, whenever I order food, I always make sure to turn on my porch light and stand where the driver can see me clearly, because I know what it's like to look into the darkness of a house and see someone looking back, praying for a way out. I've been a delivery driver for about 3 years. It's mostly a mindless job, listening to podcasts and avoiding apartment complexes in bad areas. But living in a sprawling suburban area means you eventually get those orders that make the hair on your neck stand up. Before I tell you what happened that night in October, I have to mention something that happened 2 weeks prior. It seemed unrelated at the time, but looking back, it was the first domino to fall. I had delivered a pizza to a luxury apartment downtown. The customer was a woman named Sarah. When I got there, she seemed frantic, not because of the food, but because she was in the middle of a heated argument with someone on the phone. As I handed her the pizza, she whispered, "Please, just stay here for a second until I close the door. I don't feel safe." I stood there for a moment, feeling awkward. Through the half-closed door, I heard a man's voice screaming on her speakerphone. "I know where you are, Sarah. I see the delivery guy. You think you're clever?" I looked down the hallway and saw a man standing by the elevator. He looked like a normal guy in a gym hoodie, but the way he was staring at me, not with anger, but with a cold, calculating intensity, sent a shiver through my chest. I left quickly, and honestly, I forgot about it. I shouldn't have. Fast forward to a rainy Tuesday at 11:30 p.m. I was about to log off when a high-paying order popped up for a Thai restaurant. It was a $40 subtotal, and the delivery address was on the very edge of the suburbs, where the streetlights start to thin out and the woods take over. As I pulled into the neighborhood, I noticed that several of the streetlights were out. I found the house, a dark 2-story Craftsman. No lights were on inside and the driveway was empty. I pulled up to the curb, left my engine running, and grabbed the heavy bags of food. As my feet hit the pavement, my phone buzzed with a notification from the app. It was a message from the customer. "Hey, so sorry. My sister and I are actually having a small bonfire at the park directly across from the house. Can you bring it to the clearing by the public bathrooms? I'll tip you an extra $20 in cash for the trouble." I looked across the street. The park was a massive, unlit expanse of oak trees and winding trails. About 50 yards in, near the brick bathroom structure, I saw a faint, flickering light. It looked like the glow of a small fire or a lantern. $20 is a lot when you're grinding for rent. I told myself it was fine. I grabbed my flashlight, left my car idling to keep the heater going, and started walking into the grass. The further I walked from the road, the more the silence pressed in on me. The bonfire didn't look right. There was no smoke, no crackling sound. When I got within 20 feet, I realized the light was coming from a cheap LED camping lantern sitting on a picnic table. Sitting on the park bench next to the table was a figure. They were wearing a dark, oversized hoodie with the hood pulled up, facing away from me toward the woods. "Hey, food delivery?" I called out. My voice felt small in the open air. The figure didn't move. "Hey," I said, louder this time, stepping onto the concrete pad of the bathroom area. "I've got the Thai food." Still nothing. I walked around to the side of the bench, my flashlight beam cutting through the dark. I reached out and nudged the person's shoulder. The figure didn't react like a human. It tipped over with a heavy, hollow thud onto the pavement. The hood fell back, and my flashlight hit a face of pale, molded plastic. It was a CPR training mannequin, dressed in a wig and a woman's hoodie. My heart did a violent somersault. This wasn't a party. It wasn't a mistake. It was a lure. I spun around to run back to my car, my lungs burning. But as I reached the edge of the trees, I stopped dead. My car was still there, but a man was leaning against the driver's side door. He was tall, wearing the same gym hoodie I'd seen at the luxury apartments 2 weeks ago. In his hand, he was jingling something. He held them up so the headlights caught the metal. My keys. He had waited for me to get deep into the park, slipped into my unlocked car, and taken the keys. He wasn't stealing the car, though he looked right at me, a wide, jagged grin on his face, and pressed the lock button. Then, with a casual flick of his wrist, he tossed my keys into a massive patch of thorny blackberry bushes, a tangled mess of briars at least 10 feet deep. He wasn't trying to drive away, he was making sure I couldn't drive away. I started to back up, my mind racing. Why? What did he want? That's when I heard the second set of footsteps. They weren't coming from the road, they were coming from behind me, from inside the dark women's side of the brick bathroom structure. A second man stepped out. He was shorter, thick-set, and carrying a heavy roll of silver duct tape and a pair of industrial zip ties. He didn't say a word, he just started walking toward me with a rhythmic, terrifying calmness. Then it clicked. The man at the car was the ex-boyfriend Sarah had been arguing with. He didn't just want to hurt her, he wanted to hurt anyone who had helped her. He had seen my face, seen my car, and used the delivery app's Track My Driver feature, likely by placing a fake order from a burner account, to find me. I was trapped in a terrifying movement, the blocker at the car and the catcher at the bathrooms. I didn't go for the car, I knew I'd never find the keys in time. I turned and sprinted toward the only open space left, the dense woods at the back of the park. I heard them start to run. The catcher was heavy, his boots thumping on the grass, but the guy from the car was fast. I could hear his breathing getting closer. I dove into the pine trees, the branches scratching my face and tearing my shirt. I didn't use my flashlight, I didn't want to give them a target. I ran for what felt like an hour, stumbling over roots and falling into a shallow creek. Eventually, the sounds of pursuit faded. I didn't stop until I hit a perimeter fence of a construction site miles away. I climbed it, found the night watchman, and collapsed while he called the police. When the police searched the park, they found my car. It was still idling, but the battery had eventually died. The men were gone. They recovered the mannequin. When they stripped the hoodie off it to check for evidence, they found a note taped to the plastic chest. It wasn't a ransom note, it was a printout of my own social media profile, a photo of me and my dog from 2 years ago. Underneath, in neat handwritten letters, it said, "You should have minded your own business. We'll see you at home." The police never caught them. Sarah disappeared too, hopefully to a witness protection program or just far away from here. As for me, I moved across the state the following week. I don't do delivery anymore. I don't even like ordering food. Because every time I hear a car idling outside my house late at night, I wonder if it's a delivery driver or if it's the man who still has my keys.
Being a woman in the delivery industry means you're always on high alert. You learn to park under streetlights, keep your keys between your knuckles, and never ever leave your car unlocked. My name is Chloe, and I've been driving for various apps for about 2 years to put myself through grad school. I thought I was careful. I thought I knew every trick in the book to stay safe. I was wrong. It was a cold, foggy Tuesday in mid-November. I had decided to pull an all-nighter because the app was offering massive surges in the suburban areas just outside the city. The night started out normal, monotonous even. I spent hours dropping off late-night fast food to teenagers and exhausted night shift workers. Around 3 a.m., I had a minor incident. A car pulled out of a side street without looking and nearly clipped my front bumper. I slammed on my brakes and they sped off into the dark. I wasn't hurt, but I was annoyed. I tapped the emergency save button on my dash cam. I'd installed a high-end 4K dual-lens camera 6 months ago, one lens facing the road and one wide-angle lens facing into the cabin that also captured everything visible through my side and rear windows. I figured I'd look at the footage later to see if I could catch the jerk's license plate. I finished my shift around 5:30 a.m. as the sun was just starting to gray the horizon. I went home, made a pot of coffee, and sat down at my laptop. I pulled the MICRD card from the dashcam, curious to see the near miss from earlier. As I scrolled through the footage, I found the clip of the car that almost hit me, but as I watched the playback, something in the cabin view lens caught my eye. In the wide-angle view that looks out my driver's side window, I could see the house I had been delivering to just minutes before the near miss. It was a standard suburban home with a long driveway. I watched myself get out of the car with a bag of food. But as soon as I walked out of the frame toward the front door, a man in a gray, oversized hoodie stepped out from behind a large oak tree in the neighbor's yard. He didn't go for my car. He didn't try to steal anything. He just stood there, perfectly still, watching me walk to the porch. As soon as I turned back toward the car, he vanished behind the tree with a speed that made my stomach do a slow, cold turn. I felt a chill, but I tried to rationalize it. Maybe it was just a neighbor, I thought. Maybe someone was just suspicious of a car idling in the street at 3 a.m. Then I decided to check the footage from the delivery before that one. I scrolled back 20 minutes. This delivery was in a completely different neighborhood, 5 miles away. I watched myself pull up to a townhouse. I got out, and I saw him again. The same gray hoodie, the same motionless stance. He was standing between two houses, tucked into the shadows, his face obscured by the hood. My hands started to shake. This wasn't a suspicious neighbor. I was being followed. I spent the next hour meticulously watching every single delivery that night. My coffee went cold as the horror of the situation revealed itself. It didn't matter where I went, whether I was in a well-lit apartment complex or a dark cul-de-sac, the man in gray was there. He wasn't following my car. That was the most terrifying part. There was never a vehicle behind me. He was waiting for me. At 1:15 a.m. at a house on the north side, he was crouched behind a mailbox. At 2:40 a.m. at a burger joint pickup, he was standing in the dark corner of the parking lot, just staring at my driver's side door. The realization hit me like a physical blow. He wasn't following my car. He was using the app delivery. He knew exactly where my GPS pin was at every second of the night. He was ghosting my route, arriving at the destinations just minutes before me, or watching from the shadows as I arrived. I felt violated. Every safe moment I thought I had that night, singing along to the radio, checking my makeup in the mirror, texting my mom that I was fine, he had been feet away watching me through the glass. But then I reached the final clip, the very last delivery of the night. It was 5:10 a.m. I was exhausted and ready to be home. The delivery was to a house at the end of a dead-end street that bordered a thick patch of woods. In the footage, I see myself pull up. I look tired. I grab a small bag of McDonald's and head to the door. In the cabin view camera, I see the man in gray emerge from the woods, but this time he doesn't stay in the shadows. While I'm at the front door, my back turned, waiting for the customer to answer, the man walks right up to the passenger side of my car. He leans his face against the window, staring directly at the camera. For the first time, the light of the dashcam's power LED illuminates his face. He's not a stranger. He's the guy who works the late shift window at the burger joint where I pick up at least 4 orders every single night. The guy I've made small talk with. The guy who always tells me to get home safe. In the video, he leans in close, his lips moving. I turned the volume on my laptop all the way up. Through the glass, I can hear his muffled, wet voice whispering to the empty car. "Not tonight. Maybe tomorrow. See you at home, Chloe." Then he does something that made me scream. He reaches into his pocket, pulls out a spare key fob, and presses a button. My car's lights flash. The doors unlock. He cloned my signal or stolen my spare months ago when I left my keys on the counter of the restaurant to use the restroom. He didn't get in, though. He just relocked the door, winked at the camera, and slipped back into the woods seconds before I returned to the car. I didn't wait. I grabbed my phone and called the police, hysterical. I told them everything. I told them I had the footage, the ID of the guy, and the proof that he had been stalking me across the city for 8 hours. The police arrived at my apartment in 10 minutes. They were professional, calm, and took my laptop to the kitchen table to review the footage. I sat on my sofa, wrapping a blanket around my shoulders, waiting for them to tell me they were going to arrest him. The lead officer, a veteran with a tired face, called me over. "Chloe," he said, his voice sounding strange, "we've watched the footage, and you're right, there is a man in a gray hoodie following you to every stop." "So go get him," I sobbed. "I know where he works." The officer looked at his partner, then back at me. "We sent a unit to the restaurant, but, Chloe, that burger joint has been closed for renovation for the last 3 weeks. No one has worked that window since October." I felt my heart stop. "That's impossible. I go there every night. I talk to him. He gives me the food." The officer turned the laptop screen toward me and played the footage from the burger joint pickup at 2:40 a.m. In the video, I see my car pull up to the restaurant's drive-thru. The building is dark. The windows are boarded with plywood. There are "closed for construction" signs everywhere. I watch myself on the screen. I pull up to the boarded-up window. I roll down my glass. I start talking, laughing, and gesturing to an empty, dark hole in the wood. I wait for 2 minutes. Then I reach out my hand and take a bag from the air. There is nothing there. My hand is empty. I watch myself set the empty air on the passenger seat and drive away, smiling. I stared at the screen in total silence. My mind began to fracture. If there was no burger joint, if there was no man at the window, then who was the man in gray? The officer scrolled to the final clip, the one where the man looked into the camera and unlocked my car. "We checked the metadata on this file, Chloe," the officer said softly. "This footage wasn't recorded tonight. This clip is from a year ago. Look at the date stamp." I looked at the bottom corner of the screen. November 14th, 2025. I looked at my phone. Today was November 14th, 2025. "You've been playing back a best-of reel you created a year ago," the officer explained. "There is no one outside your car tonight. There hasn't been anyone following you for a long time. The plot twist wasn't that I was being stalked. It was that I had been the victim of a violent carjacking exactly a year ago today, at that park, the very incident I had been trying to forget. The man in gray was the man who attacked me back then. He was caught and has been in prison for 12 months. My brain, unable to cope with the anniversary of the trauma, had created a waking hallucination. I had spent the entire night delivering nothing to no one, my mind replaying the dashcam footage of my worst nightmare as if it were happening in real time. The police didn't arrest anyone that night. They stayed with me until an ambulance arrived to take me to a psychiatric evaluation. I know I should have stopped doing deliveries after the attack. I guess I didn't realize how much trauma I was in and how it affected me. I've always tried to be so strong. I'm still in the hospital getting the help I need. They tell me I'm doing well. I have a lot of support from my family and friends, so hopefully I'll be back to normal soon. But after this ordeal, I'm not sure what I can believe.